Hello folks, it's Anahita Rao and I am here today to speak about the trends for 2021, and then I'm also going to give you a general overview of your sign. Remember, this is a general forecast only. I would advise that you listen to both your moon sign as well as your rising sign, and of course I think most of you know this, but this is the sidereal and not the tropical calculation. So please check your sidereal sign. If you're new to Jyotish, you can check out the chart calculator on my website. It will tell you your moon and ascendant sign. Let's get started. Yeah. All right, so one thing before I go any further, so I very seldom use Facebook, but if you want to find me on Instagram and add me there, feel free to do so, because I do add notices of main transits coming up there. I also plan to resume the monthly forecasts in the upcoming year, but as usual, you can read them on my website and also subscribe to them there if you wish. All right, so let's talk about 2021. Now, the big question, as usual, should you see the transit from the ascendant or should you see the transit from your moon sign? Now, ascendant, remember, stands for your intellect, your personality, your intelligence. So the effects that you experience are visible to the world and can be seen by everyone. Whereas the moon, on the other hand, everything is happening on the mental, on the emotional levels. So it may be hidden. It's of course personal. It's more internalized. And of course it could therefore be more painful. So it may not be visible to the outside world because it can be shielded by you. Now, I personally feel that you should give priority to the transits from the perspective of the moon. Not only do the classics state this, but I think that it works better, in my opinion. And not only does it work better and on a much more profound level, but I think it has more of a lasting impact. So, now to get a more detailed view on this, how to see transits, I actually have a video here which I will link below, and I speak about which ascendant to use, moon ascendant or your lagna. And I also have a video that speaks about transits versus dashas that you may find helpful. So I'm going to link the two below, so you can have a look at that. Now, what your dasha promises will of course always take precedence and priority over whatever transits we're experiencing. So for example, if at the moment you are going through the Saturn dasha, then place more emphasis on the Saturn transit that's happening at the moment, as that's going to affect you a lot more personally. Now, in 2021, we will see a lot of activity around the sign of Capricorn again, because we have both of the slow-moving planets, Jupiter and Saturn, going through there throughout the year. We also get a positive transit of Jupiter this year, gliding through Aquarius from April the 5th till September the 14th. Then after the autumn months in Capricorn, Jupiter returns to Aquarius from November the 20th till April the 13th of 2022. So that's a great and very much a transit to look forward to. Now, Capricorn energy is strong again this year, similar to 2020. So I want to spend a little bit of time talking about what that means. What is Capricorn? Essentially, Capricorn is action, and we have the planet signifying action or karma, which is Saturn, and the planet signifying dharma, or your soul purpose, your duty. There are several connotations to dharma, which is Jupiter. And they're both transiting there together. In fact, we're still experiencing the great conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter that we've been hearing about all of these past weeks. Saturn and Jupiter are both currently moving through the early degrees of Capricorn. So it's still very much relevant. This can point to conflicts between what we ought to do, which is dharma, and what we're able to do, which is karma. And this theme arising from this conjunction will dominate for the first 3 months of 2021, where you may be pulled in directions that you have little or no choice over. And this most definitely has to do with actions that you've taken in the past. Yeah, could be way back in the past. If your actions have not been, for example, for the greater good, for the collective good, then they will bring negative results because of Saturn's strong presence here. And of course, Pluto was also there, which is again symbolic of collective good when you take action. So this conjunction is still in effect, and it's very strong for this coming week because both planets are within just a degree of each other. This, of course, makes it a great time for making donations of any type. Reason being that it supports the 12th house, Jupiter signification of charitable contributions, and Saturn's signification of doing good, positive karma, basically. So now is a time where if you've acted with others in mind in the past, then you can expect some positive surprises. But otherwise, you'll have to pull back, consolidate, and perhaps re-engineer your life in certain aspects. So Jupiter and Saturn are moving through the early degrees of Capricorn in the nakshatra of Uttarashad. Uttarashad is essentially solar energy and translates into later victory, which means we will not get success instantly, but rather with some struggle and persistence. Its deity is Vishvadeva, which can be taken as the energy of Ganesha in contemporary age. So you'll run into obstacles, but ultimately victory will be there, success will be there. Uttarashad's ruling planet is the Sun, again pointing to the search for truth through life purpose, back to that dharma connotation with Jupiter there. Now, the other thing is this conjunction also marks the beginning of a new era. That's what we've all been hearing about. There's going to be more focus now on the collective, the community, rather than just the individual and the small family unit. There will be also more of a focus on service, selfless service, humanitarian efforts, rather than just the mere collection of material assets through, for example, competing in the corporate world. There will be also a move away from traditional hierarchical structures in the workplace and also in social settings. People will demand more transparency in all aspects of their lives. And there will also be a move away from the traditional marital and family structures and hierarchies. We've already been experiencing these shifts anyway, though now will mark a time when the shifts become more apparent and more widely accepted. There's a process of completely reinventing all that is signified by Capricorn. And Capricorn represents the most important house in the zodiac, the 10th house. It forces the individual to involve itself in the process of the universalization of human energy. So again, the collective. Here, consciousness is compelled to link up with higher vibrations due to the dissatisfaction experienced on the material realms, as all past karmas are activated in Capricorn. And we will be feeling this very intensely with Saturn and Pluto gliding through the sign. All these past karmas are worked out, so the burden is lessened and the sensitivity is heightened then to absorb new, fresh inspirations and higher vibrations. So then this leads to the destruction of traditional values and forces us into a new alignment of forces. Capricorn is actually the most feminine sign of the zodiac, making it dark, unpredictable, and of course, changeable. The changes that take place have the potential to completely recreate the individual, and in this way, sparking a new spiritual journey into the ascension, and thus activating, again, the higher vibrations of that 10th house. The situations that one confronts under Capricorn are not necessarily the result of immediate doings, but in fact follow from past actions. So there's a lot of working out of fate and destiny here. Yeah. Remember, it's a movable sign, implying that there will be considerable change experienced there. We've already seen the impact of Saturn's movement here, and earlier this year it was joined with Pluto and Jupiter as well in Capricorn. We witnessed the social movement Black Lives Matter, but not prompted by just that one event, that one death, but rather decades and centuries of abuse of power. We also witnessed the rapid spreading of a very deadly virus, again, not just by one single event that we can pinpoint, but rather the decades and centuries of horrible and inhumane practices toward animals. So coming together of Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter in Capricorn showed us the destructive outcome at the most peak level for these past actions. And that's what Capricorn is. It's the zenith point of the zodiac, the highest point above from our perspective. Now, in Vedic astrology, Capricorn is basically represented by a mystical animal which partly resembles a crocodile in the upper portion and a fish in the tail portion. It's portrayed as the protector of all the entryways to the Hindu and Buddhist temples in mythology. Crocodiles also represent the bondage of materialism. When it comes to survival, they're very fierce, calculating, and infinitely patient. They have very highly evolved immune systems, and they also have an excellent sense of smell and superior sound perception. So, when there's a difficult association with Saturn transiting Capricorn, our basic needs may not get met. Food, clothing, medicine, all the basics. And this is what some of us have experienced this year due to the rampant spread of the COVID virus. Yeah, a strong hit to some of those basic needs. A test to our immune system, our sense of smell getting impacted. Again, symbolic of the crocodile for those who experienced symptoms of COVID. And of course, the biggest test for many of us is the reliance on income, on savings, on investments to survive, just to survive. So in essence, a real test to this bondage with materialism. Now, there's 3 nakshatras in Capricorn, and within the first nakshatra, Uttarashad, there's a very special portion called Abhijit. Abhijit is a narrow slice of Uttarashad Nakshatra and considered an auspicious place in the sky. Now, Jupiter will be transiting here alone from December the 23rd, 7 a.m. till approximately December the 25th, 1 a.m. UTC, which is essentially 6 degrees 40 minutes till 10 degrees 53 minutes of Capricorn. So Jupiter stays in Abhijit till 9 p.m. on January the 6th. However, it will be sharing this space with Saturn after Christmas Day. So on its own, it's just there for that about 48-hour period. Jupiter transiting alone in Abhijit signifies a time for connecting with the divine, for anything in your life where you want blessings, or even for starting something new. And it's just a great time to simply make a wish. Abhijit means victorious one, or the one who cannot be defeated. And Jupiter in Abhijit is basically, it's basically Vishnu energy. So it's also a good time to ask for sustenance in any area of your life. This conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn not only brings us into a new era, but also gives us a clue of what is going to occur in the first part of 2021 as it became exact on the winter solstice. And the winter solstice is what we normally look to see the trends for the upcoming year. So this energy is most potent till the spring solstice, which is in March of 2021. Once Jupiter enters Aquarius in April of 2021, and specifically when it enters the Nakshatra Shatabisha in May of 2021, we can collectively see the light and begin to move away from the feeling of paying back our proverbial or literal debts and start to feel inspired again and hopeful about new beginnings. Another significant event around this time, in fact today, is Mars moving from Pisces to Aries, December the 24th. And this is significant because it's a place that Mars has been going back and forth since August. So the subdued energy of Mars in Pisces can finally come to the surface, and you'll see this. It could be in the form of anger or frustration about something in your life. And this is potent from the 24th of December till January the 2nd, when it has finally sunk more into the sign of Aries. Now, starting off, another thing to see, starting off 2021, we also see Venus and Ketu forming a conjunction in Scorpio at this time. This can show some malfunctioning of relationships in the environment. It can be any kind of relationship leading to sudden breakups and parting of ways. And if this happens, there's going to be sort of an element of surprise to it because of Ketu's presence, in Scorpio. But by February, we move into a phase of new beginnings, even with relationships. For many people, their entire life path will get a reboot at this time. People will also be striving for some sort of philosophy, to look for some hope, as maybe an overall gloomy feeling has been dominating for so long. But then, of course, as I mentioned, when Jupiter enters Aquarius in April, we can feel optimistic about new beginnings at that stage. And even before, I would say you start to feel the effect of this in February. On May the 22nd, Jupiter is going to enter Shatabisha Nakshatra, also known as the healing nakshatra, or the nakshatra of the 100 physicians. And so this may be a breakthrough time with respect to getting positive results from the COVID vaccine. Jupiter in Shatabisha is basically like the Shiva in Nilkant myth, for those who know this, where all the poison is absorbed by him. And so he's depicted with a blue throat. But not until then, I feel that, can we expect positive outcomes with medicines, including vaccines. Another thing happening, of course, in 2021 is Rahu entering Rohini in February. And This, of course, is a beautiful nakshatra. Growth, sustenance, it stands for all of those things. But with Rahu gliding through there, it's a time to be watchful of consumption of all types, because, you know, we're talking about Rohini, we're talking about Taurus, especially with food. So make sure that food is cooked well and that you're not relying too much on eating. So avoid packaged food, for example, because the Rahu transit could bring some kind of a food contamination. So be watchful there. So this Rahu transit in Rohini is actually several months, but just be watchful for the months of February till April, I would say. Saturn will move into Shravan by the end of January of 2021. So this is a big shift. It's going to usher in a different type of energy than Uttarashad. Maybe a gentler influence because of the moon's association there. Though, nonetheless, it's Saturn, and the nature of Saturn is to invoke, sometimes quite heartlessly, but justly, the energy of the nakshatra where it's transiting. I'm going to make a separate video on this in detail later on. For 2021, other important dates to watch for are eclipse times. Unlike last year, we only have 4 eclipses to deal with, and the first one is on until May. So the first eclipse of the year is basically on May the 26th in the sign of Scorpio, caused by Ketu. So matters related to whatever Scorpio represents could see some change, shift, or losses. Yeah. There is a solar eclipse on June the 10th in Taurus in the Nakshatra of Mrigashira, caused by Rahu. Here Rahu will be in the very sensitive portion of Rohini at 15 degrees. So this will impact relationships, and there will be new beginnings for some people. Then on November the 19th, we have another lunar eclipse in Taurus in Kritika, caused by Rahu again. And finally, ending the year, we have a solar eclipse in Scorpio in Jyeshta on December 4th, caused by Ketu. Yeah. So for the first part of 2021, the movable signs will experience the most dramatic changes. These being Aries, Capricorn, Libra, and Cancer. And for the remaining year, the fixed signs, Leo, Taurus, Scorpio, and Aquarius, will see more changes. So if you have your sun, moon, or ascendant there, then you will be directly impacted. I think most people will have at least one of those significations there. If you want to make most of the energies of this year, shades of blue will be positive, with both Saturn and Jupiter in Capricorn. So let's look at the signs and see what's in store. Now I'm going to concentrate, of course, predominantly on Jupiter and Saturn's transits here. So that's going to be my focus for the forecast. Yeah. Aries. Aries will continue to experience shifts in their career, status, position. All the action takes place in the 9th and 10th houses. There's also yoga forming due to Saturn's transit in Capricorn called Sash Yoga, which will help boost all matters related to career, image, and bring a change in status quo. With Jupiter in the 10th house, this yoga will be diluted to a large degree, so I would say exercise some caution with decisions related to career matters and choosing the right job, and also exercise caution when it comes to taking advice from experts, because of Jupiter's debilitation. Once Jupiter moves into the 11th house in April, this is an excellent transit for income, relationships, and all-around prosperity. Taurus, all the action is happening in your 9th and 10th houses. directly impacting your path in life. You'll feel like you can accomplish anything at this time, especially with Rahu moving through your first house. So with Jupiter's aspect on Rahu from Capricorn, just be a little bit cautious because you can be misled. So take time to act, as you may not be getting the entire picture. Yeah. Yogic Saturn. For you, Saturn is a very good planet, and it's transiting your 9th house, which is a big blessing because it will protect you to a great degree. It's a very beneficial position for Saturn, for Taurus, and it can take you to great new heights, provided that you place some effort towards your goals. Yeah. Once Jupiter goes into Aquarius, situation improves with career and income matters. But Taurus can expect to see many shifts in their life this year. Gemini, what's happening for you? So for you, the 8th and 9th houses are getting impacted. Being one of the dual signs, you probably had a difficult 2 years recently, being hit by all the eclipses. But with Jupiter moving into your 9th house in April, you will feel much better and also be perceived in a more positive light with the aspect on Gemini from Aquarius. You could meet new people who help achieve your goals from April onward as well. So keep an eye out. Saturn in your 8th house will continue to show some restrictions, though, when it comes to matters of loans, finances. So be cautious in your spending, I would say. Cancer, your 7th house is very activated due to both Jupiter and Saturn's movement there. Jupiter will lighten Saturn's presence to some degree. There is, of course, the Sasha yoga playing out, which will make you very practical and help you to avoid uncertainties that lead to very fearful situations, especially when it comes to relationships and just generally other people. There's going to be a lot of emphasis on relationships. You'll be seriously thinking about long-term relationships. And for this reason, it's actually a good time to put effort into building long-term alliances of all types, and it will serve you well for the years to come. So I would say put some reflection there, put some time and energy there. A lot of changes can also be seen in the business front if you're self-employed, Cancer. You may need to consolidate, pull back, and maybe readjust a little bit. Yeah. Okay, so what's happening for Leo? For Leo, you of course still have Saturn activating your 6th house. And then when Jupiter moves into Aquarius, your 7th house will get a positive boost. This is a very good 6th house Saturn transit, which can lead to promotions, growth, new healthier routines for you. It will definitely bring a change in your day-to-day routine, which may not be very comfortable in the beginning, but in the long term, it's going to be better for you. So don't resist. Pay attention to your health, however. So don't overdo it, because with Jupiter also their health issues can pop up. But once Jupiter moves to Aquarius in April, relationships will see a big boost. You may meet someone that you deeply connect with. You may also get serious about a current partner. And you may even decide to get married if that's what you're planning. And it would be an excellent time to do that with Jupiter moving through Aquarius. Yeah. Virgo, for you, this transit has been activating your 5th house. So good time to focus on children, any projects, your business, as all those areas may need more attention and care. Yeah. Once Jupiter moves to Aquarius, 6th house gets activated. So be mindful of health matters. You may change your lifestyle in a positive way. And you may also change the way you work. Yeah. For the better. Libra, for you, this Saturn transit activates your 4th house. So domestic affairs, also parents. So keep a close watch on your parents, if their health, if if their health is a concern or if they're elderly. Once Jupiter moves to Aquarius and activates the 5th house from April onward, you'll feel a lot more optimistic. And you can look forward to new beginnings, especially in the area of business and in relationships. And for Libra, it's also a good year to learn any new subjects, start a new venture, start a new business. Yeah. For Scorpio, what's happening? Well, for you, Saturn is transiting your 3rd house. So it's a great time for you. Any kind of competition, you'll do very well. After a few tough years, this will be a good year for you. Opportunities to turn your life around completely as Saturn is in a favorable spot for you. Now, once Jupiter moves to Aquarius, you may want to travel or relocate, and it would be a good time to do that. It would also be a good time for your domestic life in general, but expect some changes there. For Sagittarius, this will be a less dramatic year for you, just generally. You're almost done with the Sati, if that's where your moon placement is in Sag. And with Jupiter's presence in Capricorn, it can mitigate some of the difficult effects. Jupiter moving into Aquarius in April, into your 3rd house, can bring opportunities for travel and for setting up your own business in case you ever thought about doing that. Many things will start to make sense to you now, and you can also start to see new relationships develop because of Jupiter's aspect on your 7th house post-April. Capricorn, well, it's another intense but important, very important year for you. There's going to be a lot of activity in your sign, obviously, and with Capricorn being the domain of action this year, this coming year, pay attention to your health. Yeah. Many of you with Capricorn moons will be in the heart of the Sati period, especially if your moon sign is in Shravan. So it's not a year to take unnecessary financial risks. Practice caution, and if you can, do seva where possible to balance the karmic effects of the Sati transit. Now, when Jupiter moves into Aquarius in April, you'll feel a lot more positive and feel that you have some control back into your life to make some solid decisions for the future. Yeah. Okay, so what's happening for Aquarius? Well, for Aquarius, the 12th house is activated. So this can result in losses, unexpected expenses, and sometimes a feeling of isolation also comes with the 12th house being so activated. Travel or move abroad could also be on the cards for some people. Meditation, of course, a 12th house significator is highly uplifting for you this year. When Jupiter moves into your sign in April, you'll feel more optimistic, and this would be an excellent time to make any solid future plans. Pisces, this year your 11th house is lit up. So this is a positive year for you, more than any other sign. Work changes, career changes are possible, so you will gain a lot through the changes that you make, or that you're compelled to make. When Jupiter moves into Aquarius, expect some expenses, etc., because of aspect on the 4th and 8th house. You could also get unexpected gains from insurance, joint resources, or from property as well at that time. All right, folks. Overall, it's a good year, and I think that we'll see it getting gradually better and better as we pass the spring solstice. I would say don't be afraid of change this year. Remember, with so much planetary energy in Capricorn, which is called a Jara Rashi, in other words, a movable sign, its essence is movement, activity, adaptability, and change. So we have to be ready for some more changes before we settle into a very sort of like a comfortable flow. Yeah. All the best to everyone. And of course, Happy New Year. Cheers. Take care.